Ariana Grande and the other chick, I don't even know her name.
Cynthia Erivo.
Yes, they both in every interview look insufferable, and I don't want to be around them. So thus, I don't want to go watch a 3-hour-long movie about them.
No, but here's the thing. They're supposed to be insufferable. That's the point of the show.
Well, it doesn't put my butt in a seat. So
it's about character arc.
It doesn't matter. Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Nick Barrett, and as always, I'm joined in person this time for this big season finale with a little asterisk episode of the year. My co-host, my ride or die, Mr. Jackson Glass, and today we are going to be doing our annual tradition of our 2024 year in review. So we're going to be talking about all the movies we've seen this year. We're also going to talk about a movie we watched together last night that I think you guys will find really interesting. And at the very end of the episode, to wrap things out, ask the question of whether or not 2024 was a bad year for movies. But before any of that, Jackson, how have you been?
Wow, I'm so happy to be here in person. If you're watching the video, you can see us actually in the same room. We're gonna do the Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo like hand grab like every 3 seconds.
I'm not doing that.
But
it's not in my contract.
I'm happy to be here. I made a quick trip up here for my birthday. My birthday was yesterday of recording, and I turned 21.
Wow.
And so we had the rager 21st birthday for me. It was absolutely insane. I came down here and we that's a brag, we ate at Chili's.
What?
And I'm gonna be honest,
Chili's?
Honestly, the Triple Dippers is phenomenal.
Yeah, that burger I had last night was pretty sick.
I thought Chili's was bad. My local Chili's just closed, but you know, it's probably a location thing because that was actually kind of baller.
I think Chili's is bad. I just think it there's too many Chili's.
Yes.
You need to have less Chili's.
You need to have
and bring it down a notch. Have them be at the big malls and a couple in the big cities, and then that's it. It's got to be a novelty.
You're like, oh, cool, Chili's, and then we had too much Chili's. So that was really good, and we saw a really cool movie in the theater, and it's part of the reason. One of the main reasons I came down here was to see a movie called Interstella 5555, which we will be doing a quick review for here in a minute. So everything's been really chill. I just finished school. I'm on Christmas break now, and that's pretty much it. I'm exhausted, and I woke up this morning and was like, oh my gosh, nothing is expected of me. I don't have to go to class. I don't have homework. No, I don't have to. So kind of a surreal feeling, but I'm happy to be here. Mr. Nick, how are you today?
Well, tired.
Yeah.
As usual. I stayed up way too late on Wednesday, and I'm still recovering from that because I still have to go to work. That's the crazy thing about being an adult is you still have to get up and go to work. It doesn't matter how late you stay up. My alarm still goes off at 6 a.m. And I got to get up and go to work and be functional. So, yeah, and just catching up on that. I finished recording my last video of the year.
Wow.
Last scheduled video of the year. I'm working on another one that may or may not come out before the end of the year.
Right.
But it's a big 2024 anime recap video, which is the longest script I've ever written. And I feel so bad for my editor because he has so much work to do, but he's doing great.
Doing great.
Does great things. So there's that. Just working on content, trying to find time to relax. I have all this manga back here that I'm actually want to sit down and read at some point. And if you're watching the video, I mentioned last episode that I bought My Hero Academia Volume 42. And if you look up there on the shelf, literally right above Jackson's head, I have Volume 42 on the shelf. It got here. So that was pretty sick to look in this week. It was a nice surprise to come home to one day. So other than that, I'm just here, man.
There you go. Happy to be here. That reminded me. I also got a new computer this week, and it's waiting for me at home. And so hopefully it'll make podcast endeavors and content endeavors just a little easier to not ask a 2019 Intel chip to run After Effects.
Yeah.
That is not
Yeah.
ideal. If you've never tried, I cannot recommend it. But we saw a pretty cool movie last night, and we mentioned earlier, and that is Interstella 5555. Now, a little context for this movie. This movie was released in 2003, and it is an anime movie. It is an Japanese animated movie, and it is very experimental and fun in the sense that there is no dialogue to said movie. It is just front to back the Daft Punk album Discovery. Literally, all the songs in order. It is just their album, and all the music is in it. And as a Daft Punk fan, I love Daft Punk. They're probably like my favorite artist ever. I've wanted to see this movie for a long time, and seeing it in the theater was super cool. There it is. Yep. This was the I think
right here.
I think it was the 10-year anniversary, 11-year anniversary.
How long ago was 2003?
No, but the album came out in 2001.
Right,
So
but
it's
were they
the-
not doing the anniversary for the movie?
No, it was for the album.
Oh, the album came out in 2001,
Yeah. So it
That
was
was
a something anniversary
23 years ago.
of the album. So they put the movie back in theaters for one day only on my birthday. So I had to go.
I can't play that.
We're gonna get copyright striked. So, yeah, the movie's really interesting. It's I'm not gonna spoil it, to the best of my ability.
Can I put this in my anime playlist?
I mean,
it's not anime music,
no,
and it's not like it originated in the movie.
no.
It's like,
The movie was literally made for the album.
yeah, okay, so it's not.
So
really
you
in the anime
could,
playlist. No.
but the songs. I just love Daft Punk. So the movie is a group of aliens that have a band get kidnapped by an evil music CEO, and he brings them to Earth, and they essentially get whitewashed and get thrown into the music industry.
Except for the one guy. He
Except for the one guy who was blackwashed.
Yeah, they had to be like, hey, we gotta have a little diversity here.
There's one. So, honestly, general thoughts. Tell me what it was a very weird movie.
It was a very weird movie. I didn't know what to expect going into it. I was like, because all you had told me was like, it's this anime movie that is Daft Punk, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I like
Right.
Daft Punk, and like, I don't know. I haven't really listened to Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Like, so to go into this movie, I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So we're watching it, and then you were like, oh, by the way, this has no dialogue
by the way.
whatsoever. And I was like, oh,
Oh, okay.
okay, well, this should be interesting. And then the longer I watched it, the more like, you don't realize how much not having dialogue forces you to actually think about what's going on in
Yes.
the movie, because you're not being told anything. You're only being shown, which means you have to infer what's going on either from the lyrics in the song or just what's happening on screen. So, and I think this movie did a lot, like I said, no telling, so it had to show everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there was still such a full, unique story in it, despite like not having any dialogue.
Right. Which is so interesting because I think like we really live in the era of movie that is entirely tell. There's like we're really losing the show aspect of movies, and it's really interesting. I was very curious about it because that this movie could be such a disaster so quickly.
Yep.
It could so quickly just be really boring and just feel like a ton of music videos strung together, which we'll get to in a minute because that's what they did at the end.
Yep.
We'll get into that in a second. But the movie is just over an hour long because it's literally just the album front to back. But here's the other thing, and I want your take on too, is when I was in the theater, I was like, oh, it's only an hour. Like, I don't know if it's going to like feel worth it. But if it was like a 2-hour thing and it was just music and no dialogue, I really think I would have struggled.
Yeah.
Like at the hour 30 mark, the novelty would have lost itself on me.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that doesn't overstay its welcome because towards the end, like even though I liked it, towards the end I was like, okay, like how much longer is this going to go on?
Right.
Like, and I didn't know it was just the album front to back. I thought it was like a compilation of the favorite songs that put everything together. And what I did appreciate was, and I've talked about this before, of like if you look back in older like classic Disney movies, you see how much of a character the music is. And like the music, if somebody gets hit with a frying pan, they're gonna put a gong clash in there, and the music is part of the story. So then this movie takes out all of the dialogue and the music is the story, and you can infer a lot just from the lyrics of like even the limited lyrics that are in, because there's not a lot of vocals in Daft Punk music. So you have to like interpret some of it from the music and then also be like, okay, well, here's a couple, like this song has scattered lyrics because it's this really big character moment for this one character. And, you know, so to put all that together, there was a really big twist at the end that I did not see coming.
I don't know if I'm not going to spoil it because I really do think it's a great movie that you should go see. But it does have a twist that like we were genuinely like had our jaws to the floor.
Yeah. And like it made sense. Like it wasn't a twist that came out of nowhere and was like, oh, this is stupid.
Twist.
Like
it was a good twist.
It was a really good twist. And I was like, okay.
Okay. I mean, that's when I was truly locked in.
You're like,
because the whole time, like, because it's an hour long, it's just music, like there is a lot of montage to move the story along, which is just, you know, a nature of the medium. It's just par for the
course.
Because and this movie was kind of hard to rate because I wasn't going to be like, oh, it dragged in this part because there was no dialogue. And it's like, well, no freaking duh. Like that was the point of the movie.
Exactly. It had no dialogue.
But I also think it's interesting. This is just genuinely such a good album choice to make this movie with, because Daft Punk they've been making music for years. If you haven't, they're very experimental. And it's so interesting. Daft Punk has been experimental filmmakers for years. Like they've made a ton of super weird experimental music videos and stuff. Some that we got to watch after the movie.
Ooh, that was rough.
But
well,
it wasn't rough. It was just
was very interesting.
Well, okay, so since it was like a Regal event movie, after the movie they played like 4 or 5 like music videos from Daft Punk over the years. And they played one that was like a dog going through the big city for a song Defunk, which is a great song. And it was very narrative. That it did have dialogue, but they have like this dog character that's like a human with a giant basset hound head.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of disturbing, but like cool in a way. And then they did, there's a music video for Around the World, which is one of their more popular songs. That was just like an interpretive dance.
It was kind of weird, but I was
so locked
so
in.
encapsulated by it. I was like, what am I looking at?
Because
why can't I look away?
Because it was like a giant circle. It kind of looked like a hot tub, but it was covered, and then it had like stairs that went around it. And it was like these synchronized swimmers were like dancing around it, but there was also a bunch of skeletons that were dancing. And then there was also like RoboCops, and it was, go look it up. It is like,
it's wild.
It's very French.
Yeah.
It's very avant-garde, if you will, to use a pretentious film term.
Je ne sais quoi.
It has the mise en scène that you are looking for.
The ratatouille of it all.
It has the baguette. And so there was another one where essentially, if you needed to know what like most Daft Punk music videos are, it was just like the house/EDM scene from like 1990 to like 2008, 10-ish was just really, really, really weird. And they were at the forefront of that movement. So it was a lot of like people with questionable fashion, like getting parties shut down was like the main like theme, because that's what house music was. It was like rebellious and it was like cool and hip. But then like the direction of their video was super weird, because it was like, oh, this cop comes in to shut down this party, but then we focus in on a tomato stain on his shirt.
And then we have to follow the process of the tomato from being planted as a seed to growing, to being harvested, to being shipped off to a store, to being bought at the store, to being turned into pasta sauce with step-by-step instructions on how to make pasta sauce,
which
to
is
being
awesome.
put on the pasta, to being put in the container, in a lunchbox, in this cop car from this cop's mom. And then he eats it and he spills it because they're trying to rush to get to this party.
Right.
And then we catch back up and that's it.
Which, in a way, I think it was Revolution 909 was the video for that one. Genuinely so funny. Like really wacky filmmaking stuff. If you want to see just like, if you just want some entertaining and like wacky music videos, like go for it, because they're so funny.
What was the last one they played? I thought that one was really cool. I think it was like Infinite.
It was Infinite Repeat or something like that. It was from a so Daft Punk in 2020, early 2021, said they were retiring, and they retired as a group. And since then, their most popular album is Random Access Memories, which is my favorite album of all time. It's so good. But when the 10-year anniversary for that came up, because it was released in 2013, when the 10-year anniversary came up, they were like, we're retired. Let's just release all of our old demos. So all of the songs that didn't make it on that album got released on like a deluxe edition. And one of those songs was it Infinite Repeat?
Let me look. I'll look it up real quick.
But it was essentially like a really cool, like animated, like mixed media kind of video where like it started with a circle, and then the circle turned into like a person, and then the person was like running, but then the person turned into the robots, and then it turned into and it was like this whole life cycle, and then it like slowly turned back into a circle, and it fit with the song really well.
It's Infinity Repeating.
Infinity Repeating. Very good song with Julian Casablanca. Anyway, if you get the chance to see Interstella 5555, if you're into some more like niche, like
it was very niche.
It was very, very niche.
I will say, for a movie that had absolutely no dialogue, I was so like invested in the story
for real
of these aliens who got kidnapped, and like all of their memories were wiped. Because if you're a fan of Daft Punk, you've probably seen this movie,
right? Because
what was it?
Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger.
That one. It's the music video for that,
right?
But we watched the whole movie, not just that section of it.
Which that scene's awesome.
It's a wild scene when put in the full context. Like, think about watching the music video without the context.
It's like kind of weird,
them
but
getting
like,
kidnapped.
You get it. Yeah.
You're like, okay, these are like robots or something that are being built and like manufactured. But to have the whole context of
there
like
is so much deeper than you think.
It's so much darker, dude.
It's really, really messed up. Highly recommend going to see it. It's not like streaming anywhere, I don't think. It's like really hard to find.
Let's find out. I bet I can rent it on YouTube.
I'm sure. Yeah, Interstella 5555. If you like Daft Punk, or if you even just like house EDM music,
you can watch it on YouTube with Kello Concerts for free.
Kello Concerts.
So you can try Kello Concerts for free for 7 days.
And then watch
and then
it.
you can watch it and then cancel after that. So you can watch it for free on YouTube.
See. Let me see.
That's crazy.
It's like genuinely phenomenal.
They have all of the music videos as a playlist on YouTube, though.
Yeah, but it's not the full experience.
It's not the full experience,
but
it's virtually the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it's all the pieces. It's just whether or not you want to watch the pieces together, because they're all like uploaded.
DVD is unavailable.
They're all uploaded by Daft Punk, like their official music videos.
Right.
So
anyway, highly recommend. Really, really cool theater experience just to listen to one of my favorite albums all the way through on my birthday. What happened?
I knew it.
What?
So apparently, it's incredibly hard to remaster this movie.
Oh.
And according to this YouTube thumbnail of a video I haven't watched, apparently it was AI upscaled to remaster and put it back in theaters, which is something I was thinking about last night as we were watching it. Because I was like, there's some parts of this where it just, like, as someone who AI upscales stuff for thumbnails,
Right.
like, AI upscaling can only do so much. Like, it has to have the details to work with.
Did we watch the upscaled version?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel so cheated.
Like, it's the same thing.
Right.
But I was thinking about that yesterday because I was like, some of this looks, like, blurry, like they tried to upscale it.
Right.
But then...
Like, it didn't really translate.
Didn't. And then there were some parts of it where it looked fine, and I was like, wow, this looks really good for a 2001 or 2003 anime movie.
Right.
Like, I've seen anime that came out in 2003. Like, it's not great.
It looks like 2003.
So, I don't know.
Interesting. Highly recommend.
Interesting, but...
Great movie. So we have a lot to talk about today, so we just wanted to throw that cool review in there for you. And honestly kind of spread the word because I think it's a really underrated movie that is just like we want you guys to go see it. But man, 2024.
What a year.
What a year.
We're at the end of it already. That's crazy.
And we're going to get into that after I tell you that you should follow us on Instagram at The Nerdiest Podcast or Twitter at Nerdiest Pod or on YouTube at The Nerdiest Podcast. We'd like to say thank you so much for our YouTube subscribers because we are officially over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a big deal, which is if you're in the YouTube world or even like adjacent to it at all, 1,000 is a really big milestone. And now we're on the watch time grind and we're close to monetization. So thank you so much if you're watching on YouTube. You can see us sitting next to this gorgeous Great Deku tree made out of Legos. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube. Make sure you follow us there. All of the links to all of our stuff is in the description. You can follow me at The Glass Studios on YouTube and Nick with no K on YouTube just to see our own personal content. This is a labor of love and an independent production. We do everything ourselves here. So make sure you give us a 5-star review and send this episode to a friend that you think would enjoy. So... that being said, 2024, what a year. And we're going to talk about movies and shows.
Well, correction. We are going to talk about movies.
And Nick
I'm going to talk about shows for like 2 seconds.
Fun fact, I did not watch any new shows this year.
That's not true. You watched...
I watched Ahsoka.
Mashal.
Oh.
Oshinoko.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer Season 2.
Yeah.
And My Hero Academia.
And Ahsoka.
Ahsoka was last year.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was. It was last year because we did an episode on it last year.
Gosh.
So now...
that doesn't feel real.
Much like me, the only shows Jackson watched this year was anime.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
I was forced to watch them.
Well, forced is a bad word. More like strongly...
You're like Jeff Goldblum in Ragnarok.
Voluntold.
He's like, I don't like the word slave. That's a bad word.
Let's see here. I'm not going to go over my shows too much because it is all anime. But also, I'm going to do my own stream on my own channel, like doing a tier list with all the anime I watched this year. Some notable mentions. I watched how many shows this year? 31, which is down. However, we're halfway through December, so I still have 2 weeks to add like a bunch more shows to this list, and I probably will because a bunch of the seasonal stuff is ending. Some notable highlights I watched this year. I binged through the entirety of My Hero to get caught up for the new season. I rewatched Community because they took that off Netflix, which is always good. Oshinoko Season 2 was pretty alright. My Hero Season 7 was phenomenal. And Arcane Season 2 certainly was a show that I did, in fact, watch. Season 1, I think, is still better overall. Season 2 has its good moments, and there are a couple of good songs on the soundtrack, but then the rest of it kind of just falls flat, and I didn't really care for it. There was also a very unnecessary sex scene in an animated
Ew.
show, by the way. Like, here's the thing. We all knew it was coming, right?
Yeah.
My bigger frustration with it is, like, it's first of all, it's two girls. So, like, morally, I'm opposed to that. But that aside, let's talk about the greater context of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
The world is ending. Everything's about to go bad. And these, like, two very significant characters who are essential in this plot
Mm-hmm.
to keep the world from ending are just, like, getting all freaky in
Let's
a jail
do it.
cell. And I'm like, guys,
This is not it.
this one guy really just, like, put his heart and soul out here to rally the troops against this common enemy
And you guys.
and, like, bring everyone together. And this is
your
how you're spending the
response?
time?
Gosh.
All right, whatever. I just thought it was a really bad placement of, like, and that's what made it unnecessary. Like,
And
if it was
bad placement of an unnecessary scene.
yeah, like, if it was after the fight, then I'm like, okay, whatever. At least, like, the main conflict is over, and you're not
Right.
like, I was involved with the conflict part of it.
Mhm.
So then to sidetrack to this thing, I'm like, man,
Go back to the Ooga Booga fight scene.
I just want to see him fight and smash robots and stuff. So
Yeah.
other than that, I'll end up going over. I watched how many new shows this year? 21,
Wow.
and 19 of them were anime.
Wow.
One of the one out of that was Arcane season 2, and the other one was the live action Avatar. So, not
there
a
you go.
lot of American stuff this
Yeah.
year, which is not a tragedy.
Which, you know, there was some American shows that came out that I heard were good, but just weren't my style. Gosh, I cannot remember what came out when, because I wanted to say The Bear, but I think that only the second season came out this year. Guys, I can't freaking keep up with anything anymore. I'm a boomer. I have... Gosh, anyway. So, Nick, how many new movies did you see this year?
Well, let's ask a better question. How many new movies did I see last year?
Okay, this is really sad. Do you know how many new? Do you know how many new movies I saw last year?
How many?
24.
Wow, you want to know how many I saw last year?
Yeah.
30.
Holy cow.
How many did you see this year?
You want to know how many new movies I saw this year? 14.
Wow, I saw 13.
Because even looking back to last year,
Ooh.
ooh. In 2022, I watched 23.
Well, technically, we'll have seen 15 and 14 respectively next
Right.
week when Sonic 3 comes out.
Of course. So
But still.
I look at like 2023, and I see like I watched the live action Little Mermaid and 80 for Brady and Cocaine Bear and Five Nights
I
at
forgot
Freddy's
that came out last year.
and A Haunting in Venice and Wish and Dungeons and Dragons and Super Mario and Haunted Mansion. I saw The Holdovers and Oppenheimer and Barbie and Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians 3 and John Wick 4. And then this year I'm like, oh.
How many movies did you watch total this year?
Current total, I'm really not close to done because break is when I start getting back onto the movies.
Right.
So as of December 13th, today, I'm currently on 119.
What?
119.
The movie challenge was last year.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know people, I kid you not, I was talking to someone the other day who was like, I really did just watch movies this year. And I was like, okay, what are you at? He's like 285. And I was like, okay.
That's like a movie a day.
No, literally. And I would just respect that grind so much.
Do you want to guess what I'm at for this year?
Tell me higher or lower.
Okay.
30.
Higher.
50.
Lower.
40.
Lower.
38.
A little bit lower.
37.
A little bit lower.
35.
Yep.
You saw 35 movies this year.
And it's including not new to me. Or like including rewatches and new to me.
Yeah.
9 of them were Star Wars that we watched for the
That's
podcast.
true. That's true.
That has inflated my number a lot. I just didn't watch a lot of movies because there wasn't a lot of stuff in theaters that like caught my attention.
Right.
And then I don't watch movies because I feel like it's such a big time commitment and it's a harder thing to turn on while I'm working or while I'm like just chilling at home. Like I want to like that's why I always end up watching more shows is because it's very easy to turn on a couple episodes of a show, and even though I'll sit there for the same amount of time, I have consistent out points instead of saying like, well, I'm an hour and a half in, might as well just sit and wait for the next for the movie to be over. So
no, see, I love turning on movies while I work, especially if it's just like a Pixar movie I've seen 100 times, man. Or like it's the time of year to pop on Hallmark movies while you're watching because they're like not like
I haven't even watched the Polar Express yet this year.
Last year, I just checked
that on Monday.
2023. I only watched 117, so my 119 has already surpassed my total for last year.
Last year was 102 because I won the challenge and then I stopped watching movies.
Yep. You really did only watch movies out of spite.
I did because I wanted to win.
All right, so
Mama didn't raise no loser.
All right, guys, here is our new 2024 movie ranking. I'd like to also say that I only see movies that I think look good, and so there are a lot of 2024 movies I didn't see because I didn't think they looked good, and that's that about that. So, you want to know my lowest movie of the year?
Is it Madam Web?
No. It's not Madam Web.
Oh,
I saw
that's interesting.
a worse movie this year than Madam Web.
Was it Wicked?
No. Nice try.
Done. Really try to slip that one in there.
Do you want to know my lowest movie of the year?
Give me your lowest movie of the year.
It was the Garfield movie with Chris Pratt.
I forgot how much you didn't like that movie.
I genuinely don't think I've ever left a movie theater feeling like I wanted my money back. Like I considered sending an email to the studio to be like, what on earth were you thinking? Because there was no reason it had to be Garfield. It was like, remember that Garfield comic where he, pulls a heist on a dairy farm and has daddy issues? No, it's because it doesn't exist, okay? This movie is stupid. It's one of the stupidest, cash-grabbiest movies I've ever seen in my life. The animation sucks. The story sucks. The acting sucks. I like Chris Pratt. I'm not here to dog on Chris Pratt because he did fine, but the script sucked.
When you say cat on Chris Pratt?
Oh. That's what I'm saying.
Got him.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. You want to just go back and forth?
The Garfield movie wasn't even funny bad. It was just pissed me off bad.
Just bad?
Yeah. All right.
Back and forth since we have...
and forth.
Go again.
Oh.
Since you have one more than I do, and then we'll be good to go back and forth.
All right, guys. Ready? Number 13 on my list ranking for the year. Second to worst. None other than Madame Web.
There it is. That's also my number 13.
Yep.
We did a whole terrible movie, dude.
We did a whole episode
terrible,
of this movie.
Kind of in a funny way.
It's funny bad.
Like, okay. For comparison, Morbius was bad.
Bad.
But it was also kind of funny bad. Like,
because they made it, you feel like they made it unironically and like thought they could.
No, but they did.
Yeah.
They made it like unironically. Yeah. We want it to be good.
Yeah.
So
you're like, oh, they thought they cooked on this one.
Madam Web, I feel like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever laughed that hard in a movie theater.
No, same.
Especially when she comes out at the end. Dude. Dude, I had to
cover my mouth.
I had to force it. Like, I've never had to not laugh so hard in a theater. When, like, there's that scene in the end where she falls in the water. It's not very clear that the firework hits her in the face.
No.
And
then you like fade to her in the hospital.
Yeah, and then she's just sitting there like this, and the nurse is like, is this all the family you have? And she's like, this is all the family I need.
All the family I need. And then she like turns into freaking like Magneto, or not Magneto, Professor X at
In the
end.
wheelchair?
She has her little wheelchair with like, and she's blind, and it's just like.
And before one of the girls sneezes, she's like, "Bless you," and she's like, "What?"
Too. And it's like, oh my
Wow,
Lord,
she can
have
still
mercy.
use her powers. Oh
Also-
my goodness.
Also, like, I don't think I've ever noticed more continuity errors in a Hollywood movie.
Dude, don't even get me started.
We saw this movie to laugh at it.
Yeah,
I saw it to laugh,
yeah.
and I was looking forward to cracking up, and I definitely got that.
Sometimes I'm really curious how movies like that get made, which I know was the topic of that episode.
Right,
that
we did a whole episode about
but
it. But like,
how does that make it through the quality process? Like how does that make it through quality
because
control?
that's objectively bad.
It's
like,
did
anyone
someone have
could
to
say that
watch
bad.
that and be like, well,
Either
either I get fired or I put my stamp of approval on this. Like,
punk.
I'll take my job. I don't care.
Also,
it's not my problem.
Like, just the idea that like it's a genuine, like, objectively, literally no one thinks that this movie is good.
Well, I don't know. Let's do. I want
Let's
to
look at some
see.
5-star reviews.
There is 9.5 thousand 5-star letterbox
Yeah, but they're
reviews.
all ironic.
Are they though?
They're all ironic.
Are they though?
Yes. There's no way. Sort by highest.
Top 3 movies of all time. This is peak cinema.
Everyone should watch this movie right now. Possibly the worst film I've ever seen. 10 out of 10 would recommend. 5 stars.
Where is my spider? A deeply autistic woman does everything she possibly can to avoid becoming the center of a found family sitcom, while Keanu Reeves, playing Solid Snake, doing an Agent Smith impression, falls for all of the classic blunders of Greek myth. Why are all the good video game movies not based on video games? Like, this literally has quick time events and a checkpoint system, even beyond the video game cutscene free dream sequences.
That's so true. No, it's true. Also, if you watched our
That's
last,
great.
If you watched our last episode of our Christmas party, you know that I am a proud owner of the 4K version of Madam Web on Blu-ray DVD.
What was my review of this movie?
I
reviewed this film. Andrew Tate has a weird obsession with high school girls and goes after them for 2 hours while the real Spider-Man is born.
Okay, can I just say, like, this was one of my favorite reviews I've ever done on Letterboxd for Madam Web.
It's a good one.
I said, terrible dubbed audio, jarring visuals, obsession with teenage girls. This isn't even a superhero movie. This is just a crappy anime. 5 likes.
You're not even wrong.
5
dude.
likes. All right. You guys want to know my next one?
What's your next one? Hit me with number 12.
Ready? Number 12 for 2024. Venom: The Last Dance.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Tell me about it.
I'm going to tell you, guys, spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance. You shouldn't care. I'm going to tell you how this movie ends, and tell me if you think I'm joking or not. So, the Venom part of Eddie freaking dies.
Okay.
He just, like, dies in, like, this supposed to be heroic sacrifice, and it's not. So he dies. But the one of the main motifs of the movie is that Venom really wants to see the Statue of Liberty. He really, really not the like Tom Hardy Venom, like the Venom. They're talking about how they're gonna escape to New York because New York is the promised land in all superhero movies. And so they're gonna escape to New York and they're gonna start a new life together, and it's gonna be great. Well, Venom dies before he gets to see the Statue of Liberty, and it's like really, really emotional. And so Eddie, I kid you not, I'm dead serious. If you've seen the movie, you know. He goes to the Statue of Liberty and reminisces about their times together in a montage to a Maroon 5 song. So the song Memories by Maroon 5 plays the here's to the ones that we lost, here's to the ones that we drink, because the dreams bring back all the memories. Imagine that over Tom Hardy tearing up at the Statue of Liberty And then we get a clip show of the movie we just watched. And then it ends. I really wish I was making this up. Also, do you want to know why this movie is called Venom: The Last Dance?
Because they dance?
Oh, there is so much lore to the dance,
Oh,
though.
no.
Because the whole point is, if Venom is like the big Venom guy, he can be tracked by this super alien organization, and they're going to try to take him. So Eddie has to suppress Venom this whole time, or else they're going to get trapped, right? So they go to Las Vegas, and Venom really, really wants to dance with the store lady that from the first Venom movie.
Uh-huh.
And she's in this hotel for some reason, and she's like, "Come on, live a little. Let's dance."
Is it called The Last Dance because he comes out as Big Venom and then does the dance and then he gets trapped?
Yes.
And that's his last dance. And then he dies after that?
Yes. So he is like, "Come on, we have to live a little," and he dances with the store clerk lady to Dancing Queen. So ABBA's playing, and then he gets snatched and killed in a final battle because he wanted to dance with the store lady.
I kind of want to go see it now.
It is genuinely a meme.
I have the movie pass. It's going to cost me nothing.
It has so much potential, though, which all the Venom movies have so much potential.
Well,
and then they just
Venom.
squander it
Well, we
entirely.
know Venom's not dead because there was like at the end of one of the Spider-Man movies, there was like a little hint that like the
little like
the glip
the
gloop
little
was in
thing. But that's where The Last Dance picks up, is from that end scene.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well then, never mind.
Yeah. And then they did some stupid like villain reveal that went nowhere, and they're like trying to expand the universe, and literally everyone was like, "Boo."
And then they said this is the end, like Craven
Yes.
is the end of the universe
And it was
for
like,
now, and we're like, all right, yeah, it's
all
done.
right.
Look at Sony. They're on
Flop.
a roll this year, by the way. That's 3 Spider-Man villain movies in 1 year.
That were all god awful.
Well, Madam Web wasn't a villain, but
No, she was a villain.
well, I mean, she did. Someone listed all her crimes, like Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah. Abduction.
kidnapping, like
Yeah.
abduction of 3 minors,
Yeah.
a lot of other things.
Being in a Madam Web movie.
Reckless driving. She like crashed
Reckless
through a sign.
endangerment. Yeah.
Property
Yeah.
destruction. She blew up that building.
Yep.
At the end of the movie, yeah. So yeah.
All right, so hit me with your next one.
My number 12 is this is gonna sound bad. This movie is not number 12 because I think it's bad.
Right.
It's just number 12 because it had to go somewhere. But it is Unsung Hero, the For King and Country, like their family's
Right.
story of coming to America. It was a good movie. It was very well made, and I will appreciate it for that. However, I am a little bit less partial to live action movies than I am animated ones.
Yeah.
And also, like, that type of, like, just intense drama is not my type of movie.
Yeah.
So while I'll admit, like I said, objectively, very well directed, very well casted, everyone did a good job. It told the story very well and was very relatable and believable. Just not my type of movie.
Right.
So
It's not gonna break your top 5 just by being the For King and Country movie.
right. Like as much as I like the band, I like them for what they are now.
Right.
And not necessarily like
Right. You don't feel obligated to like it just because
Right.
it's them.
I don't feel like, oh, I have to like this movie because it's you. I'm like,
Right.
no, I didn't. So
That's real.
very honest about it.
So number 11 for me is a movie that we saw together. That is Despicable Me 4.
Ain't no way you put Despicable Me 4 below Moana 2.
Yes, I absolutely did.
What?
I absolutely did.
All right, elaborate.
Okay, so Despicable Me 4 was not bad by any means. I think the animation was really good. I think it was funny, but Despicable Me 4, like, as a Despicable Me fan, like, I really like the first 2 movies. The third one was kind of a miss. And then the fourth one is just like, why are we here? So, Despicable Me 4 felt very much like it was a string of Minion shorts that they didn't have anywhere else to put.
Yes.
And so they randomly threw in a Gru storyline that didn't really involve his kids.
With Gru Jr.
And Gru Jr. because that's funny. Is it funny, or they just don't?
What a relatable dad moment.
They don't have,
his kid doesn't like him because he's awkward.
Also, like, if they wanted to go that direction, they should have aged up his other kids, and then just gone with that,
and not made them the same age.
Right. Which is so funny because the director was like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna age them up, all this stuff," and then like.
A week later, we're open to doing a time
it if
skip
it means
or whatever.
We can do more movies. I was like, oh my gosh, for the love
Make
of
up your
Pete.
mind, bro.
So it was just like it's funny. I think it's enjoyable, but it's just like it feels like a string of scenes that they didn't have somewhere else to put.
Yeah,
it wasn't super cohesive in the way that in the way that the other Despicable Me movies are.
I'll just go ahead and talk about it because it's obviously on my list and
Right.
a little higher up. But I thought it was okay. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was as funny as like the first or the second one or even the like Rise of Gru.
Right.
But I don't know. It was
cute.
alright.
A little
I
something for
feel
the
like
kids.
if they were, I think the most diabolical thing they did in this movie was they wanted to have a French guy be a cockroach, right? Okay, that says a lot about French people and how Illumination, which is kind of an inside joke because like Illumination is mainly based in France,
Right.
So it's kind of like a self-dig,
right, which
But
is funny.
the craziest part was that instead of casting a popular
French dude.
French person, they cast Will Ferrell
So that he can
and
do a
had
crappy
him
French
do a
accent,
French accent.
which is so
And I'm like, dude,
weird.
there's like prominent, popular French voice actors
No,
who could
literally.
do that, and you can see.
And that's what else was frustrating is I was like, when you make Will Ferrell and Steve Carell not funny, that's when your script sucks.
That's hard because they're both comedy.
That's when
actors.
your script sucks.
Like, come on.
because they're funny. Gosh,
What a movie.
where does
Ew.
Despicable Me 4 rank on yours?
Icky. On mine,
Yeah.
number 9.
Okay,
Now,
So-
it broke the top 10, but let's also remember I've only seen 13.
right.
Um,
Top 10 is not really.
really, the only part of this list that has any sort of substance is top 5.
No, for real.
Like, that's
Yes.
it. That's
Yeah.
the only part that has some semblance of substance of like, oh, these were
Yeah.
better than everything else on the list.
I think of these movies, I actually genuinely like would go back to maybe 5 or 6 of them.
I would go back to my top 5.
Yeah.
And that says a lot. So my next one is one I'm not going to talk about too much because we just did a whole episode on it. Moana 2 at 11. It was a movie. It had a lot of its own issues. To summarize what I said on that episode, conceptually, great movie. Conceptually, great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like having Moana go out and explore like the ocean and try to reunite with all the other different like islanders and people groups, and like I think that's great.
Mhm.
But the big downside is it definitely feels like a Disney Plus original series
That got
that
strung
got
together.
strung together and very loosely like sewn up and cut to be a movie, and it very much feels that way. And the quality of the movie is Disney Plus original level, but it's being put up with like your Tangled, Frozen, Encanto,
Mhm.
and financially it doesn't look like they're going to learn the lesson they should,
No.
because it's like destroyed all of the Thanksgiving box office records, and I'm like, no, actually
no.
this is bad.
Let's not do that.
No, please stop.
Please don't make more sequels.
Please don't do this again. But it's like, hey, welcome back, direct to DVD
Welcome back.
sequels.
Direct to DVD is so back.
We are so back.
See, I also saw a thing today that said that based on how Mufasa does, might determine the direction they take. Because if Moana 2 kills, and Mufasa is disappointing, then they're going to lean more towards their animation department and pull away from the live action.
Please. I've never wanted a live action movie to fail more than this Mufasa movie. I'm so infuriated by this movie, by the way.
Done.
Because do you know how much hype and how excited everyone would be if we got an original, like years after the original movie, we got an original animated prequel.
Yes.
To The Lion King, one of Disney's best movies to date. I know you don't feel that way, but I do.
I would go see a prequel.
And it's got Lin-Manuel Miranda on the music. What kind of evil, backwards world do we live in that this disgustingly disingenuous live-action Lion King prequel will have better music than Moana 2?
I hate it here.
What?
I hate it here.
And like they just announced the live action Tangled movie they're doing. They showed a preview for the live action Lilo and Stitch at Moana.
Yeah.
And then the first trailer for the Snow White played in front of Wicked.
Which is nightmare fuel, by the way.
I've seen it. It looks terrible.
No one is going to go see that.
No one. I feel so bad because I want to go see them so that we can cover them.
Right.
But I also don't want to support Disney like give them money or put butts in seats.
What's the ethics of buying a ticket for a different movie and then going to see
I feel
Mufasa?
like in this case it's okay. Like I kind of am thinking about getting another ticket for Sonic and just going into Mufasa.
But also like it's the kind of thing where it's like you have to make sure the theater's not sold out. You have to go.
You gotta go on like a random Monday afternoon when nobody's there.
Right. You have to you have to play the game essentially. Like you need to know what you're doing. You can't just walk in on a Friday night and expect to have an open seat. Like that's not how this works. Well, it's interesting because my number 10 is Moana 2.
Oh, perfect.
Which like. The idea that Moana 2 is in my top 10 for the year makes me want to quit my job.
Could have put Despicable Me up there, I'm just saying.
See, at the end of the day, though, I still enjoyed Moana 2 better than Despicable Me 4. Because Despicable Me 4 was like, just kind of, like, it was good, but it was just kind of boring. Where Moana 2, like, at least it was fun bad, where I could make fun of it. Yeah, we did a whole episode about it 2 episodes ago. If you want to go give it a listen, but essentially, I was just so disappointed, and I hate that it demolished the box office because it showed them that they can make.
Showed them that they
can throw.
And that's the problem.
Crap at the wall and it'll sell.
And it'll stick.
Anyway, so hit me with your. Where are we? Number 9.
Number 10.
10, because I just did 10.
Inside Out 2.
Oh, tell me about that.
So I liked the first Inside Out. I thought it was good. One of Pixar's better movies.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted this one to be good because Pixar's been kind of on an L streak lately.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and honestly, it was a lot better than I thought it was, or than I thought it would be. And it was very enjoyable. Stuck with a lot of the things that you like about the first movie while also expanding, and it felt like the emotions that they brought in, while it makes you ask a lot of questions about like, well, where are all of these emotions in the parents' head in the first movie? Like, if you can kind of put those plot hole questions away and not think about it too much, which is what I would guarantee you they want you to do.
It's kind of like Monsters University.
Yeah, where it's like, don't really think about like that aspect of it. It's fine. It loosely makes sense. So if you ignore that, I think it's fine. I like that they brought in the new emotions because, I mean, as you're getting older, I mean, we've both been there. We've been, teenagers getting ready to start high school and stuff.
Right.
It is definitely not a fun time. And the way they portrayed anxiety, I was interested to see how they did that because in modern society, there's like 2 paths for anxiety. It can either be this thing that doesn't exist and you're just insane, or you let it completely control and run your life.
Yep.
And the movie didn't dismiss anxiety, but it showed that anxiety without any other emotion is bad.
Yeah.
And when you let anxiety completely run and take over your life, it is nothing but negative
Right.
consequences. And you do things that you wouldn't normally do just to satiate the anxiety part of your brain. Like when she was trying to break into the teacher's office, like it was
Right.
going against her core values, her
Right.
core beliefs. And
That weren't being pulled up because of the anxiety takeover.
right. And the anxiety was just like ignoring it and was like, okay, well, we'll build a new version of myself that's even better. And you get into like the people pleasing.
Right.
And I honestly started tearing up at the end when it was like the
tornado.
anxiety tornado.
Yes.
And like going through all that, I was like, oh my God.
You're like, oh, me.
What?
Oh. That's wild.
So it was
Okay.
good. I enjoyed
Okay.
it.
I have thoughts on Inside Out too. I'm saving for later,
It's a lot higher on your list, isn't it?
perhaps.
Okay.
So, my number 9 is in fact the M. Night Shyamalan classic Trap.
Huh.
Now, I have an infamous angry YouTube review about this movie if you'd like to go watch it, and it's called Trap Made Me Angry if you'd like to search it on YouTube. Honestly, Trap is a movie that I kind of want to try again because the concept was really cool, but I'm just going to be disappointed again because the idea... Now, also keep in mind, I've never seen a Shyamalan film, which, like, you know, kind of... Which blows a lot of people's minds, but I also... Anytime I, like, talk about his work, everyone's always like... It's fine. He's made
It's all right.
Sixth Sense and The Village are good.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, absolutely not. So, from what I've heard, it sounds like he's had a spotty filmography. And so, when I was just invited to see Trap on a whim, and I thought the concept was dope, so I was in. And the whole point is, like, this serial killer is at a concert for, like, essentially it's their Taylor Swift. Her name is Lady Raven. And the whole point is he's trapped there. And the concert was set up as a trap for him. Trap. That's the name of the movie.
That's why it's called Trap.
But
Okay.
also, and like Josh Hartnett does great in the movie. But also, there's so many plot holes that it doesn't make sense. And I was listening to this interview that Ryan Johnson did when he talked about Knives Out, and he said he was like, when you're writing a mystery or a thriller or like a murder, anything, he was like, this is why I love genre films. It's like because you go in with a preconceived notion of what makes sense and what doesn't. And he was like, so in a murder mystery, you know, like in reality, a lot of this stuff wouldn't necessarily make sense, but you're like, oh, people do this in murder mysteries. And so I think that's really insightful, especially when you think about Trap and how it's like, yes, you can piece together like what is happening and why it's happening in a thriller movie, and you're like, oh, he's crazy, there's this and that. But it's also like, this concert is literally in broad daylight. The whole play, it takes place at like noon.
Yeah.
Every employee like very conveniently gives him all the information he needs to escape their clutches. And then the second it gets interesting, he leaves the concert and abandons the main concept of the film. And so I really, really, really want it to be a great movie. And it just kind of flopped for me. You can see my full review on the Glass Studios channel, but I just left feeling really disappointed because it was so much wasted potential for such a great concept. But it really was just like a 2-hour promo for his daughter's music because Lady Raven was played by the director's daughter.
LOL.
LOL.
Nepo baby.
Nepotism. It always works. Don't think it doesn't.
My number 9 is Despicable Me 4. We already talked about that. So I'll jump to number 8.
Hit it.
Which is a short little anime film I saw a couple months ago called Look Back, which
you did do a review.
is on
that.
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And I think you should watch it.
Okay.
I think you would like it. It goes a lot into the creative process and like finding community in creativity because it's about these two girls who both want to be like manga artists and stuff, and they one of them is really good at drawing like characters and the quippy dialogue, and then the other one is really good at drawing backgrounds. And the first one, she like gets really competitive with the other one because she has like this complex about being the best, and then they start collaborating, and when they come together and combine their strengths, they make like these crazy, insanely good like manga one-shots together and stuff. And it's about that process, and then like the natural of like, well, one of them wants to go to this school and the other one wants to like immediately get serialized in Shonen Jump. And so they kind of split their ways, but then they stay in contact for a bit, and there's a twist towards the end that I don't want to spoil. But it hit me on a deep emotional level, and like everything that happens after that. But it was a really good movie, very well animated.
Wow.
Very different. It's only like 58 minutes long.
Oh,
not even an hour. Like
Holy
it was short. And also I did appreciate because I went and saw it in the theater. They did like a director's commentary at the end, and they interviewed like the voice actresses and stuff, and just listening to them talk about what they took away from the story, and like how the director was very intentional with like, okay, well, we're going to do this, and we're going to really put a big emphasis on the backgrounds in this movie because one of them is a background artist, and like trying to find the best way to bring over the like visual storytelling from the manga into this movie was really good. So I really enjoyed it. I think you should watch it.
Wow. It's on Prime.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, everyone, my number 8 was a movie that I forgot existed until this exact moment, which doesn't bode well. But it was a movie made by John Krasinski.
I also forgot about this movie until this very
stars
second.
Ryan Reynolds, and that is If. Now,
If what?
If it's called, it's like Imaginary Friends. It has Steve Carell in it. Lots of SNL people, actually. Super weird. But If is good. It's very whimsical. It's a good family movie. Very heartwarming. It's the kind of movie that like, it's a very good, it's like a light in the darkness kind of movie where it's like, it's really fun and really whimsical and really sweet, but it doesn't have a whole lot more to offer outside of that. Now I bet you're wondering, why is it so high on your list? It's not. It's just better than some of the other things I have seen.
It's like, it's not high on the list, but it's also not like...
Is 8 really that high on a list of 14? Like...
No.
So it's just kind of like... Was it amazing? No. It was sweet. It was fun, and I liked it. I really don't know if I'd intentionally turn it on again. But I would watch it over Moana 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
So...
I mean, there's a lot of things. I'd watch Moana 1 over Moana 2.
I'd watch Moana 1 over I would watch Hamilton over Moana 2. I
yeah.
would watch... No, I would not watch The Little Mermaid live action over Moana 2.
I would watch either of those over Moana 2.
Dang. All right, what are we at? 7?
7. My number 7 is going to shock people.
Number 7 will shock you.
My number 7 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay. Interesting.
Leaving the theater, I was like, wow, what a 4-star experience.
Yeah.
When I got home and like a couple days went by, I was like, wow, what a 3.5-star experience. And then I sat on it a little longer and I was like, wow, what a 3-star experience. Like, I left feeling so hyped, but then I just felt so betrayed after.
Yeah.
Because like Kevin Feige hyped this up as being an Endgame level movie. And I went into it with those expectations, which, by the way, I feel like no one can get upset at me because this is like the president of Marvel.
Right.
Saying,
this
hey,
wasn't a random YouTuber that told us to get excited.
Yeah, this wasn't like a Twitter leaker who's like, I've seen the movie. It's an Endgame level movie.
Right.
Like, this was the guy.
The only one who would know that.
Hey, this movie is like an Endgame level movie. And I'm like, okay.
I see you. Let's go.
I like Deadpool. But I also think, and I've mentioned this before, I was not a big fan of the cussing. And I know that's like, oh, you walk into a Deadpool movie, like, what do you expect? And I was like, yeah, they really toned back the sexual stuff because I've only seen the first one.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of that in the first one.
Yep.
And then I heard they toned it back in the second one, and then they toned it back, like there was virtually none of it in the third one. And I think that was definitely because it was a Marvel movie and not like a Fox Marvel movie.
Right.
So it was good. And I was fine with the violence. I usually don't have an issue with the violence and the gore because I watch anime.
Right.
But the cussing was so frequent.
It was constant.
Like, if they were able to tone it back, and I saw a graph or a chart that was like, oh, there's 100-something swear words or F-bombs in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, in what world for, like, good writing do you need to say the F word that many times?
Yeah.
Like, you don't.
No.
Just admit that you like shoving swear words in because you think it's funny or it adds some kind of gravitas to the scene. Like, there's one where Wolverine and, like, they're in the car, and Wolverine's like, I hope you die. Or no, I hope you don't die, because having to live with the, like, sad excuse of who you are would be even worse than dying. But there's, like, 7 F words crammed in there.
And that's a
and
great
it's like,
line.
I love what he's saying, because it's a very good dialogue.
Yeah.
But it's just there were so many swear words thrown in there that I feel like it brought the quality of the movie down a little bit. Also, this marketed as like, this is Deadpool's soiree into the MCU.
Right.
As if he didn't spend 5 minutes at the beginning of the movie in the MCU timeline and then go back to his own timeline.
Right. Just to get rejected by Jon Favreau. Yeah.
And then, like, all the stuff with the TVA was kind of irrelevant.
Yes and no.
Because it didn't feel like the TVA from the end of Loki season 2. It felt like the TVA from the end of Loki season 1.
Yeah.
But this is set after Loki season 2. Because of, like, who's in power, that black lady. I don't remember her name.
I didn't see season 2.
But, like, the officer who's, like, she's now in charge. So, like, I don't know. It could, which sucks because I like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's funny. I like his Deadpool, but the movie was not for me.
I have thoughts I'll save for later.
It's also higher? Wow.
Now.
I'm realizing how different our lists are the higher up they go.
Are we at 7? Okay, number 7 for me was a recent movie, and it was the best Christmas pageant ever.
Oh.
I actually really enjoyed this movie. I grew up reading the Best Christmas Pageant Ever book every year during Christmas, and I think it was it was very true to the book. I was very nostalgic for the story. It was a really actually great example of like what good Christian filmmaking can be, because it was a really good, funny, sweet movie that it just told the Christmas story. That was it. It wasn't like there was no post-credit scene that was like, text 10 people right now, God's not dead.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Drives me insane.
That is
when Angel Studios movies come out and while it's playing during the credits, it's like, hey, scan this QR code and send us and you can pay it forward for 10 people or whatever. And I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing, but also I've already paid to be here. Stop trying to get me to pay more. The movies are expensive enough.
Said, I hope they pay it forward. I said, dude, this is a movie theater. No, so yeah, this movie was not that. It had Lauren Graham and Pete Holmes. I think is one of the most. He is really funny and underrated as a comedian. And I liked seeing him in this role in this movie. It's a very sweet family Christmas movie that I enjoyed way more than I thought I would. And that's kind of how it landed so high was I was like, oh, this was just a good fun movie, and it was I would watch this over Despicable Me, Trap, Madam Web, Garfield, it was just very enjoyable and high quality and simple, and it did what it sought out to do, and it did it well. That is all I ask of a movie.
Amen.
It wasn't reinventing the wheel. It was just sweet and funny and did what it needed to do, and that's the story of how the best Christmas pageant ever is my number 7 movie of the year.
All right, chat. Number 6. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, To the Hashira Training. The compilation movie, by the way.
Wow.
That should say a lot about the other movies I've talked about.
That a compilation of 2
episodes I've already seen and a third episode that I hadn't seen but I was going to watch in like 2 months on Crunchyroll is higher than these other movies. I don't have much to say. I'm not a huge fan of the compilation movies, honestly. I don't like the idea of just hastily slapping these things together to give you a little sneak peek and you still have to pay full price. Like, and then, because I did a whole video about it, because then like those comp movies are gone.
Yep.
Forever. Like, they don't get Blu-ray releases. They don't get special treatment on Crunchyroll because all they are is just compilations to make money. Which is funny because anime fans will complain about recap episodes and then go make like the Demon Slayer compilation film that is a recap movie.
Right.
The like highest in the box office for that month. And it's like, what?
What do you want?
I thought we all hated recap movies.
Do you want this or not?
So it was all right. The season overall was good. I can't wait for you to get there.
Yeah.
We're close. But yeah, that's
man.
That's it.
This is where we're at. All right. Number 6. You are waiting for it. Inside Out 2.
There it
my number
is.
6. Inside Out, I think, is one of my favorite Pixar movies. It took me really a long time to remember if Inside Out was Pixar or not.
Sure is.
Inside Out is one of my favorite Pixar movies ever. I've connected with it from day one as someone that's moved around a lot, and just like the music is incredible, and I love how like it's just genuinely one of the most creative and heartfelt movies that Pixar has made. And I think it's going to go down as like one of those classics that we talk about forever. And Inside Out 2, I don't love, and I hate that we're beating this dead horse. I don't love that it's the highest grossing animated movie of all time because it's a sequel that's not as good as the original.
I'm just glad it's not the Lion King
It's not
anymore.
the fake live action
Like,
Lion King anymore.
I'm not jazzed that it's a sequel either when there's a much better animated movie that came out this year that I will talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But
also,
it's not the Lion King anymore. Get that fraud out of here.
I'm pulling the General Hux philosophy of like, I don't need you to win. I need him to lose.
Yes. Yes.
So I just think I connect really well to the Inside Out stories. Inside Out 2, like, I thought was really sweet and really good, and I thought it was a good expansion of the universe, and I was really, really pissed off about the voice casting issues because they recast Disgust and
forgot
Fear.
About that.
They recast them over money discrepancy, which is so stupid because Amy
Disney?
Poehler was getting paid more than they were. And
Disney?
So Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling were like, hey, we'll stay, but we need to get paid the same amount. And they said, never mind. And just recast it, which is... And then it became the highest grossing animated movie of all time. So it's like...
Disney's shady business practices get rewarded even more every single day.
I hate it here. But also, like, at the end of the day, it's a sweet movie that I would genuinely watch again. Like, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. All right.
We are in top 5 territory,
top
guys.
5 mode.
Top 5.
All right. My number 5.
Cinco.
All right, guys. I'm going to be so real with you. 4 out of the 5 are anime movies. I just want to preface that.
I just want fully transparent.
They're all animated.
Full transparent.
But 4 out of the 5 are anime. So my number 5 is Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sister Venturing Out, which is a sequel movie to it's like the arc down the line of the Bunny Girl Senpai anime. This movie hit me in the feels.
Okay.
Because this was like, it was a double pack that I saw, and I'll talk about the other one here in a minute. It's on my list, but a little higher up.
Oh.
And that one hit me a little harder, but this one hit me specifically as someone who has a younger sister, because the whole premise of this movie is like the older brother who, you know, has his girlfriend and like is doing his own life, getting ready to go to college. His sister, for plot reasons that were explained earlier, is like a shut-in at home, but she wants to get out more and do more stuff. And she goes through like this whole existential crisis of like, did you love me more when I was this fake person as compared to who I am now? And like all of just the stuff with them back and forth hit me emotionally.
Yeah.
As someone who has a younger sister, and like the age gap between them is very similar to the age gap between me and my sister. So just that emotional connection to it is what put it up there. And other than that, like, it was a really good movie, like very well directed, edited, animated, like that kind of stuff. But it was the emotional connection that got it so high.
That makes sense. That sounds good, actually.
I think you'd like the series if you could get past the title.
I just remember, like, this has been a joke for so long. Anyway, ready for my number 5?
I sure aren't.
This is a movie that I really think flew under the radar in a bad way, because I think it was one of the most bizarre creative endeavors I've ever seen in my life. And that is Piece by Piece, the Pharrell Williams documentary.
I didn't get a chance to see that one.
So, if you weren't in the know, Pharrell Williams made a documentary about his life. It was a biography. But he decided, instead of doing it like a regular documentary, they were going to record it like a regular documentary. So all of the people in it, they're real people, and they're playing themselves, and it's just their testimonies to the story of Pharrell's life. And then they took all that audio, edited it down to what they wanted, and animated it in Lego, which is
an interesting
so
choice.
Weird and such an odd choice. But I really think that choice, and if you've seen the film, the whole motif is essentially that, like, he didn't really, like, he always wanted to do something different, and he always wanted to keep innovating, and he never wanted to do what everyone else is doing. And then having the whole movie in such a bizarre medium just reinforced that he's still doing that. And so I thought it was absolutely brilliant. If you ever want to see Legos swear, you got to go see this movie, because it's wild. Lego Snoop Dogg is here, Lego Kendrick Lamar, Lego J. Cole, Lego, like, Gwen Stefani. Really, really bizarre stuff. And his story was really interesting, and I thought it was told really well. The animation was cool. The music was phenomenal because it's Pharrell. Lego Daft Punk was there for a split second. I flipped out. But overall, I just thought it was, like, wildly creative and, like, gorgeously done in a way that I'd never seen before, and it fell super under the radar. So highly recommend going to see that if you haven't.
All right, speaking of movies that went so under the radar, so criminally under the radar, and I'm actually genuinely upset.
Okay.
And it should probably be higher than my number 4, but, like, I don't know.
We've readjusted our lists on the air before.
This is my favorite non-anime film that came out this year.
Yeah.
In Transformers 1.
Yeah.
You need to watch that movie.
I'm gonna see it. I need to see it.
It's so good,
It's probably
dude.
coming to
It
Prime
is
soon.
the best. Well, it's up for rent.
I'm
on
not
Prime.
paying. Anyway, that's criminal.
It is the best Transformers movie. It fundamentally understands the core concepts of Transformers and does it so well. And I think the voice cast is phenomenal, because usually, like, as much as I love the Mario movie, that's my comparable. When you bring in celebrities for voice acting, you can walk away and be like, that was Chris Pratt playing Mario. That was Charlie Day playing Luigi.
Right.
Like, that was Jack Black playing Bowser. Like, that's what you can walk away with. But I left this movie being like, there were a couple times where I genuinely didn't believe it was Chris Hemsworth. Like,
that makes sense.
I was listening, and especially towards the end of the movie, because of all the character development that happens, he starts to sound more like Peter Cullen as he becomes more of, like, Optimus Prime. So, and then, what's his name? The guy who played Megatron did a phenomenal job. And I want to actually shout out his name properly. Brian Tyree Henry. He was in Bullet Train.
Oh,
he was the
yes. Was
other
he
guy
Tangerine?
from Bullet Train. Yes.
Yes.
He did a phenomenal job as Megatron. Like, dude.
Okay, I need to see
he
this.
He needs to win an Oscar for that performance.
To see this.
It was so good. And what I love about the movie is it somehow fundamentally believes in the difference between good and evil. And there is objective good and objective evil, but then it also fleshes out the nuance to that. Of, like, yeah, what this guy is doing is evil. However, we should not repay this evil with more evil because then you will be just as bad as this person. And it's like the one side of like Optimus is like, hey, we shouldn't do this. And then Megatron's like, but I want justice. Like, I want justice and revenge for everything that happened. And Optimus is like, you're valid for feeling that way. And I do too. But we don't need to kill that person because of it. Like, you don't need to become a murderer to achieve that. So I appreciated the nuanced take there. And I also think it did a good job of not subverting Optimus as a character because, what's her name? The chick Scarlett Johansson played. Alita won. Because they really try to set her up as like this like female girl boss, like girl power. And when you get into that in movies nowadays, 9 times out of 10, she'll like undercut and make the lead guy look stupid. And she kind of did at the beginning, but it's because he was kind of stupid. Right. Like, so there was that aspect of it of like, well, sense. Yeah, you kind of deserve to be undercut. You're not making smart decisions here. But then as it went on and, you know, he wised up, instead of her continuing that, she also wised up and was like, okay,
that makes sense.
How can I support you in this role? And like acknowledge that he was the leader they needed and was able to put herself aside. So there's a lot of really good stuff there.
That's cool.
It's just, I'm so sad that this movie went so unnoticed. Like, Paramount, where was the marketing for this movie?
Yeah.
Like, this movie was marketed by one guy on Twitter. One guy who just kept jumping in the comments of everything and is like, oh, you don't like Joker 2? Have I got a movie for you to see? And like started getting acknowledged by Paramount for marketing the movie. And because he filled theaters. He got people to go see a movie. He got box office pushes for this movie and it still failed. And I'm so mad because there is a chance it will never get the sequel that it set up. And I'm just like, bro.
Yeah.
Why do all the good movies not make the money? Why does Moana 2 get to succeed and Transformers 1 has to fail?
Where have all the good men gone? And where do I...
So, I will be buying the Blu-ray at some point because it is one I absolutely want to own, but it is a phenomenal movie. Okay. So that's my number 4.
Good word. Good word. All right. Number 4. Deadpool and Wolverine hit my number 4. Wow. So let me tell you, I don't think I've been. This was the movie I went into the theater most excited about. I really did go. Well,
that wasn't me. That was my number 1. But we'll get to that.
I was very excited to see this movie this summer, and I went in, and it was just like, it was exactly what I needed it to be. It was violent, it was funny, it was quippy, it had a great soundtrack. You know, I have some plot issues, there are some plot holes, there's some whatever, but also at the end of the day, like, it was fun, it was funny, like, and everyone, like, I've heard the opinion thrown around, they're like, Deadpool and Wolverine is everything wrong with Marvel right now, and it's like just compiling everything that they're doing wrong and throwing it out there, and I'm just like, no, that's such a bad take.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was to make fun of what Marvel has been doing. And he, even at the end of the movie, he was like, guys, the multiverse isn't working. And he said that, and it was in there, and it was like, oh my God. Like,
they're getting self-aware.
They're becoming self-aware. Now, one of my favorite Bo Burnham quotes is he's like, he uses a little more colorful language. He's like, being a self-aware jerk doesn't excuse you for being a jerk. And so, you know, being self-aware about making sucky movies doesn't mean you can't just keep making sucky movies. But also, like, I feel like everyone felt very seen, and it was the first time in a long time Marvel had come back. Because also, Ryan Reynolds is like a PR master, and he like marketed this movie so incredibly well.
I will give it that.
Which at this point is half the game.
People
marketing.
have to know about your movie. Like you can, like Transformers, you can make the greatest movie of the year, but if nobody knows that it's in theaters,
then they won't see it.
Doesn't matter.
which is so interesting that that's where we're at. I could do a whole episode on like movie promotion, and I'll talk about that on my next movie too. But hit me with your number 3. Top 3, guys. Top 3 of 2024.
Number 3 is Rascal Does Not Dream of a Knapsack Kid. Now, this movie, you might be wondering, why is it higher than the other one? Because this one dove a lot more into Socrates, the main character, his relationship with his mom. And a character, his mom is a character who, up until this point, I think she'd been hospitalized. Oh. And this movie was her coming home and trying to find that level of normalcy again after all of the traumatic things that happened. But then it also gets really introspective because he doesn't feel like he's worthy of being her son. And he kind of just steps back and lets his sister have that relationship with his mom, which then makes his mom upset because she's like, well, no, I want to be with both of my kids. Like, I love both of you. And it's his journey to ultimately discover his own self-worth in being her son, and that hit me emotionally on a different level. I was almost crying in the theater, dude. I was like, what the freak, dude? What? So it was really good because it also goes into the stuff with his girlfriend, and how she's like, I can't fix this problem for you. I can keep you in this deluded state of not wanting to address the problem, but what ultimately is best for you is you need to go out and do that. And it's a hard decision, but you have to do it. So it was just interesting. It was an incredible movie, and I want to watch them again, but they're not on Blu-ray yet.
Tisk tisk.
Thanks, Japan. But it was good. It was an incredibly emotional movie. And if I had my YouTube channel by then, I probably would have made a video about it.
Dang. You know what? It's not too late.
No, it's too late. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to rewatch them before I made a full video about it.
But they're not on Blu-ray.
But they're not.
All right, guys. Top 3. I'd like to apologize if this pisses anyone off. Number 3 is none other than Wicked, which this year, listen, it's Wicked's world and we're just living in it, because this was the most promoted movie of the year,
which made me not want to go see it, by the way.
Which there is something to say for marketing backfiring, but also the marketing of this movie was so bizarre, where I really felt like all the actors had trauma bonded in some way.
Well, that's just typical theater kid experience.
No, literally.
First, okay, not to cut you
off. Right, let me hear.
I haven't seen Wicked.
Yeah.
So from an outsider's perspective, I've seen a couple interviews. Ariana Grande and the other chick, I don't even know her name.
Cynthia Erivo.
Yes. They both, in every interview, look insufferable, and I don't want to be around them. Yeah. So thus, I don't want to go watch a 3-hour-long movie about them.
No, but here's the thing. They're supposed to be insufferable. That's the point of the show.
Well, it doesn't put my butt in a seat. So
it's about character arc.
It doesn't matter. Also, I didn't even know when the movie was coming out, but before it did, I was already sick of walking in Target and seeing all of the pink and green.
The pink and green.
We got Wicked. Bro, they brought back CDs.
Yes, for Wicked.
We got Wicked CDs, Wicked Funko Pops, Wicked the book covers, Wicked cars, Wicked, I mean, you name it, it's got a Wicked thing on it. And I'm like, I'm sick of this already.
What's interesting, we're seeing a resurgence. This is more of a news topic than anything else. Everyone's going back to read the book now, and they're realizing how incredibly screwed up the book is compared to the musical, because the musical on stage is really well done and really compact, whatever. The book is I'm trying to think of the most family-friendly way to say this.
I was told they're very spicy books.
It's very spicy and very graphic.
Yeah.
And the way that I was told was, it was spicy and graphic in a way that you can tell was written by a man. And
yeah, that checks out.
Messes that. I ain't about that lifestyle. So anyway, Wicked, like I've seen Wicked on stage. I think it's truly like such a cool story because it's connected to the Wizard of Oz, but it's its own thing. But it's honestly better than the Wizard of Oz as a story.
The Wizard of Oz is also like
it's
almost 100 years old.
I'm not here to dog on the Wizard of Oz, but I think Wicked is a better story. Much deeper. I love the music. I think the music is so good. But also the fact that they took like a $300 million risk on this movie and it paid off, I think is astounding. And even just the quality of the movie. And I think that really what I'm learning, especially from this year, is if you make a movie where I can tell that you cared just a little bit, I'm going to really like it. And I think that's my problem. And we're going to get into this after for a little bit. Is they cared about Wicked. They cared about the sets and they cared about making the music perfect to making sure all the fans loved it. And they cared about who to cast, and the casting was genuinely perfect despite, all the weird interviews. And I love the interview where the interviewer was like, if you've seen it on online recently, people are really taking the time to
making space,
to hold the space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was happening. And the interviewer's like, well I saw it on a couple posts. And she's like, oh my gosh,
I hate theater
so
kids.
special.
They're the worst.
And it's so funny because
they're so annoying.
Because they also did an interview with Variety after about that interview, which is so funny.
Post-game interview about the interview.
It was so funny because Cynthia Erivo was like, I didn't know this was turning into a meme. She was like, genuinely, the interviewer said that to me and I did not understand a word she said. And she was like, so I reacted how I felt like I should react. She was like, because I didn't want to offend. And so
that's fair.
Genuinely, and then Ariana Grande was like, oh, I didn't understand what she was saying, but she was freaking out. So I felt like I was missing something. And so genuinely no one in the room for that interview knew what was going on.
Everyone was not on the
They
same
were like,
page there.
Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, long story short, I think like Wicked is one of those cultural moments that I'm just kind of glad I get to live in. And so like it is one of the defining movies of the year simply just because of its cultural presence. And it's honestly just a really great, I gave it 5 stars. I thought it killed. I loved it. I cried at the end.
You gave out the long coveted 5-star review.
How many? I think I only gave 3 5-stars this year, and it's my top 3.
I think I only gave 1. Did I even give 1? Can you change the view so I can see the ratings? Let's see. My number 1 is 5 stars. No, I lied. My number 1 is 4 stars. I did not give a single movie on this list a 5-star.
Really?
No. The highest was my number 2 at 4.5, but I think that needs to come back down to a 4.
Interesting. Okay, I gave my top 3 were 5 stars. Hit me with your. Are you at 2?
Yep, number 2.
Number 2.
Spy Family Code White. The
Code White
spin-off little fun filler movie where the whole family gets to go on this like winter vacation, and then spy antics ensue because these Nazi type dudes are trying to bomb this party like. And then the family's got to get together and they got to stop the thing. And Anya eats the secret bomb code. And then these guys kidnap her and force her to poop for like 20 minutes while Lloyd and Yor are hijacking a plane and trying to get on this blimp. No, literally, that's what happens in the movie. It's so funny, dude. I love this movie. Peak.
That's
what can
so
I
funny.
say? Absolute
That's
cinema.
funny.
Martin Scorsese would be a big fan.
Wow.
But it was good. It's a lot of the same stuff that you like with the show. It's funny. It's wholesome. It like has those like hint of romantic moments between the two adults, and then Anya's just there, being chaotic energy as usual, being a 5-year-old.
Classic.
So that's all I have to say. It's good.
Fair. There you go. Martin Scorsese would love Spy Family if he had the balls to watch it.
True. Come on, Martin. Pick up your Crunchyroll account. Let's go right now.
Guys, number 2 for me. Number 2.
Numero dos.
Any guesses?
No, because I feel like my only guess is going to end up being your number 1.
Yeah. Though my number 2 is a movie. I did do a full YouTube video about this movie, so I won't say too much.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
And it is DreamWorks' The Wild Robot.
I knew it was coming.
Which I'll watch Transformers if you watch The Wild Robot.
Okay.
We'll exchange robot movies.
We can do a robot swap.
But The Wild Robot, like, I walked into the theater so incredibly blind, and I saw the trailers, and the first time I saw the trailer, because I don't watch trailers outside of the theater, I saw the trailer, and I leaned over to, I don't even remember who I was with, it was probably Amy, and I leaned over and I said, that movie's going to make me cry. And I was like, I'm going to cry to that movie. And then I saw it in the theaters, and I was like, all right, I'm going to walk in completely blind. I've heard the reviews are good. Like, that's all I know. And I sobbed, like, the entire second half of that movie. And I'm not afraid to say it.
Good
that
for you,
movie
man.
is heart-wrenching. And it's all about, like, the sacrificial love that parents give for their children. And it's, like, so real and heartfelt and deep. And it's Chris Sanders' best movie, in my opinion, which might be a hot take because he also made How to Train Your Dragon.
He's about to make another How to Train Your Dragon.
Well, he's not on that one.
Yes, he is.
He's not directing it.
I don't know. I think he is.
No, he's not.
Because I remember seeing in an interview, he was like, if they're going to make, he was like, DreamWorks said they're making this movie either way. And whether or not I wanted to be a part of it was irrelevant.
I think he's working
So if
on
they're
it.
going to do it, I'm going to be there and make sure they do it.
He's working on it, but he's not directing it.
Let me see.
I didn't think he was directing it. Because I remember there was an article about how, like, he gave advice to the actual director.
The live-action remake is directed by the same guy who did 2 and 3.
Okay. Yeah. So he only made the first one. Anyway, Wild Robot, 10 out of 10. I did a whole video on YouTube about it. Go into the description.
Yeah, Chris Sanders is an executive producer.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right.
Number 1.
Do you want to guess my number 1?
Number 1.
I don't even think you know about this.
Is it a My Hero movie?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah!
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah,
Let's
My
do
Hero
this.
Academia, You're Next is my number 1. Dude,
Wow.
I have never been, like, the way you talked about Deadpool, like, being excited, living up to your expectations, everything you needed, that was me with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, like, I love My Hero. Wow, shocker. I went and bought the Japanese copy of the final volume on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a really big Deku fan, and this movie did a lot for him and, like, gave him a lot of really cool moments. And it was just a fun night for me because I got, like, the popcorn bucket and the cup and, like, all that stuff. And I went in the theater and watched the movie, and it was, like, just such a good movie. I think it's one of the better movies they've done. I am still hesitant to say it's the best one. I want to watch all of them and, like, really take a bird's eye view and figure that out. But I do think it's one of the better ones. It found a really good way to squeeze itself into the timeline, which is funny because the space it's at in the movie, it's like, see, end of season 6, 2 days, movie, 2 days, season 7. Like, there's not a lot of time. And in order to, like, minimize the damage, they go inside this, like, really weird cruise ship.
Yeah.
That's, like, massive, and it's got all these different environments and rooms and stuff in it. So you can still have a myriad of different set pieces in different locations, but you're not having to actually affect the world at large, which is already destroyed, dude.
Right.
You know, we give Marvel movies crap for destroying New York. Yeah, anime destroys Japan.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. So overall, just a really, really good movie, and I'm very sad that I'm gonna have to wait months and months for the Blu-ray to actually come out because I want to watch it again now. But
Yeah.
that's my number
That's
one.
so fair. Number 1. All right, guys. Number 1 for me is a movie that I feel like I feel like also slipped under the radar in a way because everyone I know that has seen this movie adores it. But people that haven't seen it just haven't heard of it. And that is The Fall Guy, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Genuinely, like, if you love movies, if you want to make movies, if you love like behind the scenes of movies, this is such a good movie because it's like, it's a comedy, it's an action, but it's an espionage mystery that is literally, but it's a romantic comedy that takes place like on the set of a movie, and it's so freaking good, and it's stayed in my top spot since I saw it, and it hasn't moved since because I saw it in theaters, and since I saw it in theaters, I've watched it 3 other times.
Wow.
And so I've seen this movie 4 times this year, and I could watch it again right now. It is like genuinely has such a high rewatchability. The story is just really phenomenal. I got the Blu-ray for, I think not my birthday. I got the Blu-ray for some gift. We did Colt Stevers and we did the couple from the movie for Halloween. Like, it's my movie of the year, and I'm gonna go back and watch it. Like, it honestly, I think it's broken into my top 10 overall of like all my favorite movies, because there's not another movie like that. Like, there's very few movies that I could turn on anytime and want to see it. And there it is, The Fall Guy. Highly recommend. Go watch it.
Well, now that we've gone all the way through that, let's ask the question, or I guess let's answer the question that we asked at the beginning of the episode. Was 2024 a bad year for movies? Because like we said earlier, comparatively, you watched like what? How many new movies last year? Like 30
like
or 40?
10 more. I
and
watched
I only
like 25.
got 15.
Yeah.
Or I only got like 13.
Yeah.
So that's a really big drop.
So also
from last year.
Something to consider is in 2023, I saw 24 movies, and of those 24, I really genuinely really enjoyed about 12 of them, which is a really cool. And then this year I saw 14 and really liked maybe 6 of them, maybe 5. I'd also like to point out there were some big movies this year that I didn't see, mainly because like either just wasn't interested or it just didn't appeal to me, or I just didn't get the time to see it in theaters. So some big movies that came out this year that we missed were Beetlejuice. I've never seen the original one.
Me either.
Twisters came out. I never got to see that. Godzilla vs. Kong came out, and I didn't get to see that.
I totally forgot about that.
Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out, and I didn't get to see that. I didn't see Quiet Place Day 1. I didn't see Gladiator 2. I heard Alien Rhombus was really good, and I didn't get to see that. I didn't get to see Wonka. I didn't see
Wonka
Civil
was
War.
last year.
No, that was this year.
What?
Yeah. I didn't get to see Wonka. I didn't see Furiosa. I didn't see Civil War. I didn't see Joker 2. LOL. Everyone's gonna come up and be like, you didn't see Dune Part 2.
No, because it's bad.
See, what I've heard is that the second one is good, and people that didn't like the first one like the second one. But honestly, like I'm just exhausted. Like I'm too exhausted to see another Dune movie. Like it's not. I'm not gonna like it. I'm sparing your feelings and mine. I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna see it. So like that keeping that in mind, based on the reviews for that one, I definitely missed, like, I heard Twisters was really great, and I know a lot of people that really liked Wonka. So maybe my opinion would change if I got to see some of those movies that made a big box office impact and just generally were reviewed good. But at the moment, I really don't think it was a good year for movies.
Yeah, I feel like one, like you said, there were a lot of movies that didn't interest me that I didn't end up seeing, like the ones you mentioned. But even from that list, like there wasn't a single one on there that I felt like, yeah, I need to go see that.
Right.
Like every movie that I felt like that with is on this list, or it's Sonic 3, which comes out next week. So
Yeah.
Like, one, there's that. I also didn't have the movie pass this year, so I like didn't have that ability to just go see movies whenever I wanted to. And I went long stretches without going to the theater, which was weird. And I've been to the theater more in the last like 2 weeks than I have the entire year.
Right.
Which is insane. But I also think there's something to say for there wasn't a, like, I'm thinking about last year and all of the movies that came out last year. We had like Indiana Jones, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Miraculous Ladybug. Had to sneak that one in there. Like, let me look at this list and I'll give you
like I saw John Wick 4 and Guardians 3.
Yeah, Guardians
and TMNT
3
and Spider-Man was like the summer movie.
and the Mario movie came out last year. Five Nights at Freddy's,
even
Dungeons and Dragons,
even like Wish, like, you know,
right? Like there were
Oppenheimer
movies coming out, and I feel like 2024 was lacking some of those heavy hitters, and it feels like a gap year.
Yeah.
Before like they come back in 2025 with a bunch more of the movies that we want.
Right.
But even then, I don't know, man.
I really do feel like I think that's an interesting point that like 2024 didn't have like a heavy hitter movie.
Right.
Where like last year I feel like the heavy hitter was probably Oppenheimer and Barbie were like the movies of the year. And you know, Oppenheimer won Best Picture at the Oscars. And so I'm kind of like, I'm also very curious to watch the Oscars this year to be like, what do we give stuff to? And they always find some random like indie stuff that we've never seen to give awards to. And then once the nominations come out, I'll watch as much of that stuff as I can too. But also like the heaviest hitters of the year, like in my opinion, were probably Deadpool, Wicked, and Dune were like the heaviest hitters. And that's pretty much it. And I think that's an interesting side effect to sequel and remake culture that we haven't fully considered and fully haven't lived the effects of is, yes, Inside Out 2 made a ton of money, but its cultural impact was minimal. And so it's like Moana 2 is making a ton of money, but its cultural impact is almost non-existent.
Right. It's like when you have like 100,000 view YouTube video, but you have like 20 comments.
Right. Exactly.
Like, yeah, you have a lot of views, but nobody really cares enough to leave a comment.
Right.
So there's that aspect of it too. And it feels weird because there was one Marvel movie this year and that was it. And like
one Marvel,
usually Marvel is
Star
like
Wars.
the tentpole. We haven't had a Star Wars movies in 5 years.
Right, but you know,
which is tragic.
We had to bring it up.
You know. So I think there's also something to say for like the tentpole, like
big studios.
Let's not diminish the amount of tentpole movies that Disney used to be putting out every year.
Right.
Like go back and look at any given year in the mid to early 2010s. You'll get like 2 Disney animated movies, a Pixar movie, a Star Wars movie, multiple Marvel movies. Like there was always something at least once a quarter for you to be in the theater, seated, watching, and you were excited about. Now it's like, I've been waiting all year for Sonic 3, and if something pops up between now and then, I'll go see it. Like,
yeah,
there were a lot of movies on my list that at the beginning of the year didn't have dates or I didn't know about at all. And that just kind of like comes with the territory of being more anime movies.
Right.
But even like Transformers 1, like I didn't know that was coming out until like 2 months before it did. And one I do want to mention that I haven't seen yet because I'm going to see it tomorrow is the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim, or however you say that. Like that's probably I hope that's a big movie. And I've seen them do like substantial marketing for that.
Yeah.
But then it's also like to your point of what's the point of putting all these movies out if you're not going to market them?
Right.
And you don't. And
Marketing is half the game, which sucks.
Well, it's half the budget too.
Right. For real.
So it feels like at a certain point, like we were talking about this in the theater last night, of are certain studios, Disney, trying to sabotage their own movies for the sake of like putting them on streaming? Like,
yeah.
Was it more profitable for them to cut their losses on Moana 2, stitch it together, get that box office, and it still ends up on Disney Plus either way?
Yeah.
Like, it was never a question of whether or not Moana 2 was going to Disney Plus. It was a question of, was it going straight to Disney Plus, or was it getting a theater run and then going to Disney Plus, was the question. So, I don't know. And then to take, like I said, Mufasa is going to have better music than freaking Moana 2, which is a tragedy. But at what point does sequel and remake culture become too much? Like, I'm thinking about their slate next year. Like, Disney's slate next year. They have, like, Elio, I think, is their only original movie next year. And it's Pixar.
Well, Elio, and then there's the other, is it the rabbit one?
The beaver one? That's
beaver
like 26,
one.
though.
Oh, that's not next year.
That's not next year.
Yeah.
Because next year is Snow White. I'll look it up if you want to say what you're going to say.
I just like, I really don't, I don't love the direction. And honestly, like, Hollywood is a culture. We need to stop pretending that it's not. And the Hollywood culture right now is just like, we can get a ton of money from these things. And until consumers respond with their wallets, it's not going to change. And they're just going to keep degrading everything that you love. And I was having this conversation with my younger sister a few weeks ago. And she's 12. And she was like, she point blank asked me, she said, "Do you think movies are bad now?" And I was like, she was like, "Do you think that we released good movies this year?" And I said, "I think we released good movies this year because I saw The Fall Guy, The Wild Robot. I thought Deadpool was great, Wicked. But compared to what we used to release and the caliber of quality we used to release, it's not even close." And I pulled up the box office for 2014, which was 10 years ago, by the way. And think about like all the movies we just said and how like we really only liked like 3 or 4. And then think about 2014 when we released in the same year, we released Guardians of the Galaxy, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, Captain America the Winter Soldier, The Lego Movie, Transformers Age of Extinction, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Big Hero 6, Godzilla, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Interstellar, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Frozen. Like, the list goes on. And there's always, we can't pretend that like every movie in 2014 was good. Like, because that's not true. We've always had franchise movies. And that's the year that X-Men Days of Future Past came out. That's when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out. That's when the sequel to 21 Jump Street came out. That's when The Hobbit Battle of Five Armies came out. And so, like, we can't pretend that we were perfect then, but our scales have tilted way further in the bad sequel remakes and just franchises. And I'm also not going to pretend that, like, If was good, but it wasn't, like, life-changing. Like, wasn't, like, it's not Frozen. It's not... so like even a lot of the like non-franchise movies just aren't as creative, and I'm really curious to see how long we're gonna sit with this before we see like a great Hollywood revival.
I'm trying to do some math here.
It's okay.
I pulled up just Disney's slate for next year.
Yeah,
and I want you to just keep a count of how many of these are new original movies that aren't a sequel to anything, and what is just a remake or a sequel.
Right.
So starting off in February, Captain America Brave New World. That's a sequel. Then
which
in
looks
March,
good, by the way,
is Snow White. That's a remake.
Looks bad, by the way.
Then in May is Thunderbolts, which arguably is new. But is a team up of pre-existing characters from For the sake of this list, I'll say
it's new.
So that's one, and we're 4 movies in.
Nice.
Then you have Lilo and Stitch, which is a remake. Elio, which is new.
Yep.
So that's 2 new.
Which looks good, by the way.
Fantastic Four, which
remake, kind of.
It's new for the MCU.
Yeah.
So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Freakier Friday, which is
Remake.
a sequel. Tron Ares, which is a sequel. Zootopia 2, which is a sequel. Avatar Fire and Ash, which is a sequel. So out of all of their movies coming out next year, they have 10, and 3 of them are new.
And only one of them is truly new.
If you don't want to be super conservative and give them
oh my gosh.
a conservative estimate.
No.
Some of these I do want to see, I will say.
No, same. I'm going to see most of these.
Can we please do an episode on Snow White?
I kind of want to see it.
I want to see it and
Just
then
to
do
know.
like a tier list of all of the live action remakes and see just how far we've come
Right.
since Cinderella. Because Cinderella, like, when they made that movie, it was supposed to be this, like, how can we improve and
Use our
add
new
to
technology
the original story and make
yeah.
it better. And now it's like, well, we hate Snow White because it's not as progressive as we want it to be. So let's
Right.
fundamentally change the wheel
Right.
and make this movie. And it's like, whoa.
Okay, there's also something to say for no one asked you to like make the movie.
Yeah, no one was like chomping at the bits for a live action Snow White.
No.
Because
And
like
so-
Snow White's in the public domain, and so is
Right.
Cinderella. It's like one of those things that you continually, like, it continually gets remade. Like the Daily Wire is doing their own version of Snow White, which
Right.
is so weird.
Which
because
is-
they're only doing it because Disney is doing it, and they want to be like
Which
the
is-
anti-Disney, and I
Which
hate
is-
that.
No, that's stupid. That's stupider than making a live action remake. Like,
I also heard some of the reasoning why they're trying to remake these old ones is because, like, the original Snow White, the Disney Snow White, is about to go
into
public domain. So if they're going to lose that, then
They want to keep.
they are going to do a new version to essentially overwrite the old one so it doesn't matter that it goes into public domain because they can't do anything about that. So new merch dropping
New
soon.
merch drop.
when that
Walt
movie
Disney's
goes-
public domain.
And it's just Snow White. We're going to have
Snow
a whole
White.
thing. We're just going to,
straight up Snow White.
over the years, we're just going to start picking off some of those early movies.
Oh
you know?
my gosh, that's iconic. Well, do you have anything else to add?
Was this a bad
about-
year for movies?
Yes.
Yes. And next year's not looking any better.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Cautiously
know.
optimistic.
We have the Minecraft movie.
Cut
I'm
the
sorry.
freaking cameras.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
A Minecraft movie. My bad. Which actually,
Lord.
I watched that second trailer. They should have started with that.
No, for real.
The second trailer made it look so much
They
better
shot
than the first
themselves
one.
in the foot by trying to by starting with that like crappy teaser. I don't
Dude.
know whose idea that was. Also, can you imagine if they if they released a Minecraft movie with no trailer? If they were just like, go see it, go see it,
The marketing is it's out. Go.
go. The release is the marketing.
What a
What a
wild.
baller move that would have been.
I was gonna say let me look up what we're excited for next year, and then I was like, wait,
That's our next episode.
that's a whole different episode.
Wink, or is it? Guys, I'm going to be completely honest. This
It's
might
not.
not be our last episode. No promises. We might have a super cool secret surprise in store. We'll see what happens. So, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, let us know what your ranking is, what your thoughts are. Feel free to send us a DM or drop in the question sticker down below. Your favorite movie of 2024. Do you think that this was a bad year for movies? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? We'd love to interact with you. Feel free to send a message, drop it in the comment down below. So, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast. We appreciate you getting all the way through. We're trying to condense some of our runtime down a little bit. We understand that not everyone has, 2.5 hours to give to podcast episodes, but our year in review and what we're hyped for are always just some of our favorite and best performing episodes. So we always kind of like take the time to go there and do that. So thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the podcast this year. we've just like had so much fun this year, and I'm not gonna get too sentimental on this episode because we probably will do another one. But man, the podcast has just been so much fun this year. I think we've done some of the best content we've ever done. We're really just on fire for the podcast and ready to see how it grows in 2025 and how we explore new ways to connect with you guys and share new content. And just thank you so much for keeping the lights on. If you're subscribed to the after show that now is taking a dirt nap for now, then thank you so much for your support there. If you've bought merch, thank you. If you've just been a loyal follower that has given reviews and just send episodes to your friends, thank you so much for just your dedicated time, just commitment to the show and all of this stuff. We got all our stats back together, and we were like, what was it, number one show for like 142 people, which is crazy because if you put 142 people in a room, like
that's a lot of people.
That is a whole lot of people. So thank you so much to all who are listening. We cannot wait to see you in the next episode. But until then, bye.